So the first thing to do is actually take the scratch plate off. And Strat scratch plates are really easy to remove because they simply have screws that go around the edge. So here I am unscrewing that. Now, you can see here I've left the strings on. Ideally, you do this without the strings on. But if you're just changing your pickguard and you don't want to take your strings off, there is a way around that. You can simply loosen your string and then the pickguard will raise up just far enough for you to slide it out under the strings. You can't really do it with the strings in full tension. It's a bit awkward. You could give it a go though. The scratch plate is still actually attached because it's got some wires that go from the volume control to the output jack. I would recommend actually unsoldering it from the output jack and not from the pot itself. It's a lot less fiddly that way. And then there's the wire that goes through to the bridge and is soldered to the claw of the tremolo. So to access that, you might have to unscrew the plate at the back and then just desolder there. You could actually leave everything soldered still in place and work with your pickguard and the parts really close to your guitar. It would be extra fiddly, but if you don't have a soldering iron, you can still do it. You may also have a wire like this that grounds down to the inside of the cavity, which you just unscrew. Most guitars don't have that though. So here we've got the back view of the new pickguard and the old pickguard. The old pickguard's in white. So what I'm going to do is simply start taking it apart, but I want to keep it all in the same position while I'm taking it apart. I want to keep everything together. So the first thing to do is take the knobs off. Now, knobs like on the pickup selector come off normally quite easily, and knobs on volume controls often are quite tough to get off. So what I've done here is I put some tape on either side of the knob, going slightly underneath it to help me lever it off. I'm going to use a screwdriver, but there's lots of different tools that are specifically made to allow you to do this, but I like just using a small screwdriver. I'm going to lever it off and the tape will hopefully mean there's no chance of scratching the pickguard. Even if I was going to be throwing this pickguard away afterwards, I would try to do it like this just in case I change my mind. And in fact, personally, I don't throw the pickguards away. I've got a massive stash of them. So once the knobs are off, the next thing to do is to take the pickups out. Now, most pickups are going to come off just nice and simply with a screwdriver, and most of them are going to have a cross thread screw on it. Maybe a bit different for you. Essentially, the single coil pickups that go in a Strat are all the same. Most of them as well, when you take the screw out, are going to have a spring underneath, a spring that goes between the underside of the pickguard and the bottom lug of the pickup. Now, unfortunately, this one doesn't have springs. It has these weird little rubber things. I'll show you the springs later on when I put the pickup in the new pickguard, but these rubber things are quite good. They do the same thing as a spring really. They're just annoying to remove. Now you can see here I'm keeping all my pieces together. So the next thing to do is unscrew the nuts that go around the top of the pickups to allow the pickups to come out. There's various tools you can use for this. Quite often you can even do it with your hands. And what's really important, again, keeping the pieces together, is to keep the pickups all together in a line as they were when they came out of the pickguard. You can label them if you want. I like to keep them together. And also here, just very quickly, there's those annoying little rubber lugs. Just going to interrupt for a moment there. I hope you're finding this useful. And if you are, maybe you'll consider tipping me a tea. Yes, it's really simple. You can follow my link and just donate a small amount of money, the price of a cup of tea perhaps. And that allows me to continue making videos like this. I'm trying to up the amount of videos I make. I'm trying to make them really useful for people and answering the questions that people leave. So if you've got an idea for another video, do let me know in the comments. But I'm finding it hard to justify the time I put in because I'm not sponsored by anyone and I don't do paid promotions. So it's support like yours that really helps. And if you can't afford a cup of tea, don't worry. The comments people leave below my videos makes these worthwhile. It justifies the time I put in, really. You can also like and share as a way of supporting. Let your friends know about my videos. I also sell t-shirts, so check them out too. Right, let's carry on looking at how to put your scratch plate together. Great, so here we are with the new scratch plate. You can see if I turn it over, because I've left everything in the same place, it basically will just slot straight in. So it's sort of doing the same thing in reverse. I'm going to start with the last thing I did. I'm going to put the pots in and I'm going to put the nuts around them to hold them in place. I always do everything quite loosely for my initial setup and then go back round and tighten things after. So here I am, I'm going to screw in my pickup selector. making sure it's the right way round. That's why I tried to keep it all in the same position when I took it out. Very occasionally, early in my career, I accidentally put these in back to front and didn't notice until the scratch plate was back on the guitar. Most annoying, so I had to unscrew everything to do it, put it back. Then once these bits are in, I can tighten everything up. Now flipping over to put the pickups in, a quick tip here is sometimes I label the back of the pickups just with a pen or a bit of masking tape so I know which was which when I took them out. But I didn't have to here because I was leaving it on the desk in the same position. If you have to clear them up, it's a good chance to label them. You can also do the same on the back of the pots. So here I'm going to put those rubber things back on to tighten up and screw on. They're actually quite easy to use, but a lot of you will be used to using springs. Springs are more common than these rubber elements, and there is a problem with springs, and here's my top tip to help you with that problem. The problem with springs is often that when you come to put it all together and screw it all together, it's very hard to line up the end of the screw with the hole on the pickup while the spring's in place trying to push them apart. And one thing that happens more often than not is that pesky spring shoots off at the last minute. This video is one of my shorts. I put up shorts regularly on YouTube. They're essentially tips on things that you might find useful when putting together your guitar, tuning up your guitar, setting up your guitar, looking after your guitar. So do like and subscribe to them. But my top tip here is to use crocodile clips. The crocodile clips hold the spring in place while you screw it up, and then you can take the spring off. Last thing to do is attaching all the wires. So resoldering back to the claw on the underside where the springs are on the tremolo system. Resoldering back up to the jack socket. This guitar has a wire with a lug on it that screws down to the inside cavity because the inside cavity is insulated with shielding paint, and it means that now it's all linked together in the ground. That's not that common, so don't worry if your scratch plate doesn't have that. The tricky thing is putting the scratch plate cover back on without any of the wires getting caught outside a cavity. Again, earlier on in my career, a few times I ended up screwing the scratch plate down, and as I went round I noticed there was a bit of a lump in it because there was one wire that got caught not in a cavity but between the body of the guitar and the underside of the scratch plate. So I recommend taking your time to do this. Sometimes a thin ruler can be slid underneath between the body and the pickguard just to push the wires back in place. And then, as with most things I do, I'm lightly screwing all the way round, and once all the screws in place, I will go back and tighten it up. And here's the most fun thing. On my new scratch plate, pickguard, whatever you want to call it, I left the protective film on so that whilst I was working with it, it would give it a little bit of extra protection in case I slipped at any point using a screwdriver. And now I'm pulling it off. Brilliant stuff. Fantastic, thanks for watching. If you are changing your pickguard on your guitar and you're putting pictures up on social media, do tag me because I love to see what people do to their guitars. I love to see a guitar that has been pimped or changed in any way whatsoever. I love the social media communities that allow inspiration and support for each other. Also, while you're here, this guitar is going to feature in a video where I'm looking at how this particular Strat bridge works. It's a 2-pin system, and that's an American Professional Series 2 guitar. I might also make a video about this when I do the paint job on it, but me and my client have yet to decide exactly what that's going to be. But until next time, happy strumming!